OpenWorks is Baltimore's largest makerspace, offering access to tools ranging from 3D printers to welder, and training in how to use them. OpenWorks also offers affordable studio space, a coffee shop, and fun-free events throughout the year. But OpenWorks is more than a public workshop. It's a community of creative professionals, students, seniors, entrepreneurs, and makers of all kinds. Check out the website at www.openworksbmore.org or Instagram at open_works_bmore for class schedules, membership options, and more.
NoPixAfterDark is sponsored by Snug Books, an independent bookstore serving Northeast Baltimore and beyond. In addition to featuring new books for all ages, the store also carries cards, stationery, gifts, games, and more. Visit snugbooks.com to shop online, learn more about the store, read our latest newsletter, and find a calendar of events, or come browse the store in person. Snug Books is located at 4717 Harford Road, next to Zeke's Coffee in Hamilton, Laurelville. There is free parking behind the store, and opening hours are Tuesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right, we're recording live.
Cool.
Hey, folks, you know I always said we bring the heavy hitters in here. We always try to bring the best for everybody that hang out and listen to some amazing stories. Why not bring somebody from Baltimore, from the area? Come on, we got to have the heavy hitters here. And the next voice you hear would be Donae Burston, the CEO and founder of Fete Rosé.
What's up, my man? How are you today?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
Life is amazing. I have no complaints.
Hey, I'm happy on NoPixAfterDark podcast. Yeah. I'm happy you're hanging out with me today. Before we talk, I was like, hey, I got to get this guy on. And I reached out and I slid in your DMs like, hey, man, can I get on your screen, come on the show? And it happened. So thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here. I've seen all the great things you've done in Baltimore with the podcast, and it's a pleasure.
Hey, it's a blessing. It's a blessing every day. And, you know, we always try to give good stories for people can listen to in the Baltimore DMV area so you can hear what's going on. So, all right, you're from the area. Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to high school? Tell us a little bit background about you.
Yes, I grew up primarily in Randallstown. So I did later part of elementary school, middle school, and high school in Randallstown. Went to Randallstown Senior High School. My family is from West Baltimore, so everything from Liberty Heights and Garrison and Rogers Avenue. So strong ties to the West Side, but definitely raised out in Randallstown way back when it was still like dirt roads, some there, country roads and farm animals.
Yeah, you brought. There's a Hawaiian snowball stand out there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay, the Hawaiian snowball stand on the right hand side, going down Liberty Road. So you know what?
Absolutely. Yep. Crossing McDonald's and the liquor store. Absolutely.
You know, okay, so so my family, we grew up in Randallstown, but we lived by Milford Mill Swimming Club.
Yep.
So we lived up by Washington Avenue, up that way.
Yeah.
So I remember my uncle's farm was out that way by going out the dirt roads out that way.
Yeah.
So I definitely remember that. So tell us a little bit about you as far as you went to school in Randallstown area, then you end up going to college. Where'd you end up going to school, college?
I left Baltimore and went to Clark Atlanta University. I had never been to Atlanta before, but this was the height of the Black college craze. So I was seeing it on TV with the sweatshirts and Martin and Different World. And with a young lady that was about 2 years older than me who had gone to Clark, and that was the first time I heard about it. But initially, I thought I was going to go to Howard or North Carolina A&T, and my friends didn't get accepted to A&T, so that changed plans, and I just ended up at Clark, sight unseen, which was amazing.
Okay, and then after college, did you come back to Baltimore, the DMV area, or did you stay down there?
No, well, I graduated and I came home that summer, and I quickly realized I missed Atlanta, so I packed up and came back to Atlanta, and then I lived in Atlanta for 12 years after that, working in IT consulting.
Okay, and then so I'm always ask every guest this.
Yeah.
Growing up in the DMV Baltimore area, what was your favorite childhood memory growing up around this area?
Oh, it's a couple of things. I think one of the things I used to love was the lot. Growing up on Sunday nights and going down to Wabash Avenue, and everyone's out there with their cars, and they did a little bit of racing on Wabash and Northern Parkway. Then we hit down to in front of Odell's and all that stuff like that. That was just a great summertime sort of thing. But overall, I tell everybody now, I really appreciated growing up in an area that was a part of like, and this is where I get a little nerdy, the 13 colonies and the history and the understanding of American history. We have, like, I'm a kind of a history buff, and I see so many people and meet them from across the country who have no idea of like the American history and the depth of history that comes out of the Baltimore DMV area.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising. That is actually very surprising. Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're in IT field.
Yeah.
All right, so IT field. I mean, and I'm thinking you were doing the IT boom when the .nets, .coms were blowing up and stuff like that. Were you drinking rosé or?
No. I was actually, I shouldn't say tricked, but you know how you graduate high school and you're good at something in freshman year and everyone says this is the career path you should take, right? So I was semi good at math and science. So they were like, oh, you have to be an engineer. So of course I just listened to what everybody else was telling me and jumped into it. But I found out pretty early on I didn't want to do that full time, but it was kind of like too late. My mother was like, either you're going to finish or give me my money back. So it was kind of like, okay.
You know, it sounds like my parents, they were like, listen, you got 4 years.
Yeah.
After that 4 years, guess what? We're not paying anything.
Exactly.
I was sweating out to the last month. Like, I hope they're like, you better get out because we're not paying for no more. So I get it. So I remember that was a booming thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
What company did you work for when you first started doing when you got into that?
I was working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, doing healthcare consulting, so traveling around the country, figuring out operating room systems, etc. Sounds great, but we were literally in the basement of hospitals, like programming all day and night. So it wasn't so glamorous, which is the part I didn't like because I always felt like, you know, I'm a social person. You can't have me trapped in a dungeon plugging away at code.
So like, all right, so you're doing the IT thing. Like, I mean, I guess were you ever in nightlife, going out, like, you know, in the scene, like just trying to feel out, like, were you ever, was anybody in your family a wine drinker? Was anybody in your friends a wine drinker? Yeah, let's go there. I mean, I know certain type of wines.
Yeah.
Talking about like, hold on, we're talking about this type of wine. We're talking about this.
Thunderbird count? Because
Now, my cousins let me drink Thunderbird, so I know. What was it, Cisco or Crisco or
all that?
Alizé, I don't know, all that stuff.
But yeah, nobody in my family really were into wine or anything like that. And I did, when I was in Atlanta, it was like the boom in the music industry during that time in Atlanta. So everything was about going out and nightlife. So what I was really attracted to the wine and spirits industry was because it was like the perfect hybrid between like the music industry and like business, so to speak. So, you know, I saw all the alcohol brands doing all the album release parties. And this is at the beginning when celebrities started getting paid to come to nightclubs. So it was always a liquor brand sponsoring that. So I wanted to be in the music industry, I thought, doing events, but then I had to segue into the wine and spirits industry. And I was just like, oh, I actually like this a lot better.
Okay. So like when you started getting introduced to the wine and spirits, did you ever think that this would be a career going forward with you? Or is it just like, you're just like, I got my IT, that's paying the bills. But this is kind of fun. I like this more, but I gotta stick. You know, old-fashioned way. My parents were like, "Stick with paying the bills. Keep on. Don't leave your job. Stick." You know, that's the old way. That's how we were brought up. How about yourself when you were like dibbling, like you got your main 9 to 5, but then other things started to open doors?
Yeah, I mean, I started to do a little bit more projects in the wine and spirits industry, and then around the same time is when 9/11 happened. So during that time is when companies were offering severance packages. So I raised my hand quick. So that was my way of getting out of it. But after that, I just worked a bunch of side odd jobs for different brands and different event planning companies just to survive, because I knew I wanted to stick with that career path and was never going back to IT consulting. So it was a bunch of hodgepodge of jobs bouncing around before I got that one main liquor brand job at that time, working for Hennessy and Moet.
Okay. So when you got that main job, I mean, we're going to switch a little bit to gears. You went, and I read you were working in France for a little bit, or
no. So I started in Atlanta as the Moet Chandon and Hennessy Cognac ambassador. This was like 2002-3. They were looking to really penetrate the African American community here in Atlanta with the music industry and all that. So I was hired as the ambassador for that here in the city. And then I worked a number of jobs with them. I left and went to Heineken for a year, realized I didn't want to do beer, then went back to Moet Hennessy on Hennessy Cognac, this time working in Miami. And then I did like a 10-year stint down there on various different brands. before going to work for Ace of Spades, Jay-Z Champagne. And that's when I was in France a lot, I was in France before Moet Hennessy drinking rosé, but then I met the owner of the rosé later on while working for Ace.
Wow. That's wow.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, all right, you're working for Moet, Hennessy, and rosé, they have a rosé obviously for
a sparkling rosé. Yeah.
Rosé. And when do you remember the first time you had rosé and you were like, all right, there's something here. Like, do you remember that first time? It's always I remember the first time you tasted something like,
yeah,
this is all right.
The first time I had still rosé wine was in France for my 30th birthday party. So I went to Saint-Tropez. Puff had the song, "You Ever Been to Saint-Tropez?" Fast forward, I'm like, I'm going to Saint-Tropez for my birthday. Never been, didn't know how to get there, anything like that, but I figured it out. And I went to this beach club and everyone was drinking this wine in wine glasses and putting ice cubes in it. And the party was just going. And I was like, oh, snap. And my coworker in France at the time was kind of showing us around and he poured it in my glass. And I think for me, it was more of a nostalgic thing. It wasn't about what I was actually drinking. It was just about the vibe, like where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. So it just became like my thing from that moment.
Wow. So then from that point on, you're like, all right, this tastes really good. People are drinking over here, but it wasn't marketed towards anybody look like me or you during that time period.
When it first started, it was all about the housewives and the Hamptons and those to the area. It really was marketed towards a certain demographic of the community. It wasn't even men for that matter. It wasn't even about color. It was just female oriented. And that lasted for about 7 years. It didn't really change until we came around really in a meaningful way. But yeah, I just saw that as like, that's crazy because when we were in France, we were all in France, a group of friends, diverse, whatever, we were all drinking rosé. But when we came to the States, it was just like,
what is this?
Yeah.
We pop at Moet and it was a Veuve Clicquot. That's and it's funny when I think about it, because I went to college, graduated in Syracuse and graduated 2003. And then I remember really not even drinking rosé, to be perfectly honest with you. I was drinking more or less like Veuve Clicquot and Moet. That was it. That was no rosé at all. I really didn't introduce to rosé probably until I went over to Spain. Okay. And that was later on. That was like, now this is gonna be crazy. This is 2010.
Yeah.
That's how so 7 years, and I was living right outside Manhattan. I lived on the Jersey Shore, but I still didn't resonate until I went to Spain, and I was like, what's this over here? And I was in Barcelona. I was like, oh, this is all right. And like, it's interesting. We find things overseas.
Correct.
When we come back, did you find that fascinating, learning so much stuff over there that wasn't over here as big yet?
Yeah, and I think, listen, I worked for a French company when I was working at Moet, Dom Perignon, so we always had a lot of interaction with the French team and going over there, and it was always interesting to see culturally, in terms of the beverage industry, sometimes how much further ahead they were into things and even packaging and ideas. So it was a great experience, and even now when I need some motivation, travel. I mean, travel is the gateway to the world, and you can see things in other countries and put your twist on it and bring it back, and changes your perspective for sure.
When you give to United Way, your gift could be the first spark of something bigger. It can help someone find, interview for, and get hired for a job, and provide follow-up services for success. It can break down educational barriers and give that extra help to a struggling student with in-school support programs. Give today. Spark something bigger.
The NoPixAfterDark podcast is fueled by Zeke's Coffee. Have you tried their coffee yet? I'm telling you, there's something different about it. Maybe it's because they roast their beans in a fluid coffee roaster, which provides the most accurate roasting temperatures and made with love. You will just have to check it out for yourself and try their delicious food while you're at it. Open now for curbside service, online ordering, carry out, and they also do wholesale. Visit Zeke's Coffee at 4719 Hartford Road. Open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 8 to 5 p.m. Kitchen closes at 3 p.m. or visit Zeke'sCoffee.com and you too can be fueled by Zeke's. The NoPixAfterDark podcast is proudly partnered with Maggie's Farm. Located at 4341 Hartford Road, Maggie's Farm offers a unique dining experience with delicious handcrafted cocktails and mouth-watering cuisine, from falafels to scallops and everyone's favorites, honey sriracha cauliflower wings. Open for dinner from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday, and for brunch, Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. with delectable chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits, biscuits and gravy, and more. Check out Maggie's Farm on Instagram and Facebook for daily and weekly food specials.
That's jumping out there. Entrepreneur, that's jumping out at me. Was your family entrepreneurs? Did you have friends that are entrepreneurs? Just jumping out there, doing your own thing. Like, how'd you get into that as far as coming with the name and starting your own business?
So in terms of entrepreneurs in my family, I had my grandmother on my mother's side. She owned a casket company in Baltimore where she sold caskets to morticians. And then on my grandfather's side, he owned a chain of record stores in the 70s and 80s, Your Record Shop on Park Heights and another one in Wabash. So the entrepreneurial spirit was there. Did I know I was going to be an entrepreneur doing all that? No. I'd be lying if I said yes. I think what really changed for me is after being at Moet Hennessy for so long, I knew I wanted to do something else. But then I took a job working at Ace of Spades and working for Jay-Z, Mr. Carter and his champagne brand. And just the way that he operated and we did things over there at that company really was what the inspiration was. And I'm like, listen, if this guy, hip hop or not, can shake up the champagne industry the way he did with Armand de Brignac, and seeing it was just a small team and seeing how much, all of our collective contributions were really helping to make that brand go off to the next level, I was like, I can do this too.
I love that. It's similar to, I remember I was talking with Miss Dia Sims, and she was talking about how she worked for Puff Daddy or Puffy or P. Daddy, she worked for Ciroc. She was like, Ciroc, it was a lifestyle. It was the way you lived. And I remember, this is when you're young and you just don't really understand, like going to the club, buying bottles of Ciroc, going to a boat. Ciroc, and it was a lifestyle. And I wonder, is that what you could see you could translate with your company? Is that what you thought when you saw Ace of Spades? Then you're like, we can do this with rosé also. Is that how you?
Absolutely, because what I saw is that rosé was still only marketed as this summertime thing, again, only for women, pink sundresses and flowers, and nobody was bringing like this sexy South of France Mediterranean vibe to it, and not bringing the culture that we all provide. Like, the beautiful thing about multiculturalism is it is a mixture and a vibe, and I wanted to bring that to the rosé space. So it was all about lifestyle for me. I mean, working on lifestyle brands for the majority of my career, of course, like that's what I wanted to do to the rosé space, and being an avid traveler and experiencing these things and lifestyle. And it was the DNA of the brand is that.
So the name, where did that come from? Where did the name come from? Like, I'm sure you probably had like 15 different names, or was it like the first name you had, boom, that was it?
2 names. So I started off with Saint-Tropez Rosé, which is what I wanted to be. But unfortunately, the French laws, they were able to trademark Saint-Tropez. I don't know how you trademark a city name. That would never happen in the United States, but in France.
Wow.
Yeah, they were able to do that. So we came with Le Fête du Rosé. I came up with that, but it was actually a spin on a huge champagne event that happens every year in either New York or London, where the top champagne producers and the top chefs come out and they do like this crazy dinner. It's super expensive and exclusive, and that's called Le Fête du Champagne. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a spin on that and made a Le Fête du Rosé, which translates into the rosé party.
So now you have a name, you're testing grapes, correct? The grapes and whatnot. You're out there, and like, how do you know? Like, I mean, I know you've been in the industry for a while, but that taste. How do you know it tastes? Because I kept this bottle as a souvenir bottle, but I tasted. I had some this weekend. Let me tell you, I got a couple more bottles in the fridge right now. But I know what it tastes like. But I guess what taste were you looking for when you wanted to get your own own?
I mean, they were the more popular rosé brands that were out at the time, and I would say they were a little bit more light in color and like pink, almost like water, but they had this high alcohol and acidic content, which I didn't like, right? Because you can only have a glass or so before you were ready to move on. And then on the other side, they were like these big, dark, heavy rosés, which I didn't like that either. So I wanted something that was definitely more in the middle, gave you some good fruit, good finish, good mouthfeel, but you can still drink a lot of it. And that was really the goal. Is like I wanted something that was versatile, that I could have it in the wintertime. I can have it in the summer. You can pair it with food. You can have it with pizza. You can smoke a cigar with it. And that was really the idea of like making, changing the idea when you drink rosé and where. It's like, so that was the idea. We wanted rosé to be everywhere in every aspect of everybody's life. So we had to have a specific sort of taste profile for that to happen.
Wow. So, because what I do now is I was telling you before, I drink rosé all summer.
Yeah.
I sit back, I relax. Any party I go to, I'm bringing my rosé. I'm bringing rosé. I bring a bottle because I want to chill, relax, and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Now, and this is very refreshing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Relaxing, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a chill, sit here, I can have a conversation and enjoy my day and go about, you know, so definitely refreshing. So you're coming to the market with this product. I mean, I guess people probably like, wow, how does this even happen? But give us a little quick synopsis of like, how do you get this to market and how do you get your name out there? Because I know it's pretty hard to get it out here.
Oh, it's definitely hard. It's like the hardest thing I ever did. But I think there's two things. One is I had worked in the business for so long, so that gives you a little bit of edge up on how to maneuver this 3-tier system that is the alcohol industry, you know, relationships with retailers and hotels and restaurants and stuff to get me ahead a little faster. But it was also, I wouldn't say naive, but just like not thinking about failure, just like I can do it, right? The true belief that I can make it happen was something that really pushed me over all the obstacles, right? I never thought about it not working, right? So, when you have that sort of belief and guidance, you just don't even, I mean, I can take a punch right now and then move it on. It's like how fast you get up and recover. It's not about the issue or the problem itself.
I love
it. Things were really instrumental in why we got to where we are today.
Now I call it you disrupting the industry. You come in here, I saw a quote, the disrupting, making sure, but you're coming in there like, I'd like to support anything that African Americans are doing out here as far as anything business wise. And when I see a drink or I see something like that or a clothing line, I try to support as much as possible. Now, when you started out with this and you got out there, you have relationships, you're building new hotels, you're out there. Was it hard? What was trials and tribulations did you have to go through to get to that point where you are right now? Like, where's a sneak peek a little bit, peek behind the curtain, just a little bit, because there might be an entrepreneur that's next to you that's coming out with something really cool that's like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm getting beat up. I'm just tired, you know. What things would you say trials and tribulations that you've gone through that you're like, all right, I know I've seen this. This can help you out going down the road.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, again, you're going to hear a lot of no's, which we certainly heard a lot of no's, and you can't take them personal. It's not a personal attack against you. I always tell everybody it's not a no, it's just a not right now sort of scenario, right? So you just keep coming from that. But I think the biggest thing was being strategic about how we wanted to launch. Like, we didn't want to be across the whole United States out the gate. When we first launched this thing in 2019, it was really a Miami play, because that's where I was based and had the relationships. It was like, if we can grow the brand there and get it buzzed, being an international city that it is, then we can begin to expand. I think, you know, it's one of the things is when you come out and you try to be everything to everybody, you can't do it. Like, it's virtually impossible. And especially in the alcohol business, because we don't really control our route to market, meaning I can't sell directly to you. I have to sell to a distributor. That distributor didn't sell it to a store or a restaurant. So it's a lot of people in between, middlemen, that can be gatekeepers, haters, or supporters. So, you know, it's just navigating that and finding out who would be a supporter, who was a hater, you know, and learning how to, you know, deal with them.
Yeah. And that sounds, that's how I started the podcast. It was pretty much, all right, we're going Baltimore based. We're going DMV based. Sorry, it's my dog in the background. But DMV based. We're going to keep on pushing it, keep on pushing it. And then now we're expanding out past DC, going to New York. We're doing things in LA. We're doing things where we can, like you said, get that immediate market. So Miami, I mean, I love Miami, South Beach, Wildwood, wherever, all that stuff down there. that place down there, if you can make it down there, it goes everywhere, because everybody travels to Miami, like you said. They go there for the weekend. You find out what's popping down there, and like, all right, I had this down in Miami. I need to go bring you back. You know, when I go to Miami, my first stop is Prime 112.
There you go.
You know, you get the steak. And I have my martini. I'm sitting there, and I know the vibe. And the bartender's like, "Oh, this is the hot drink down here. Exactly. Try this." And so I like how you thought about that. How did Chris Paul come on the ride? How did this even happen? I mean, you're in a different space now. Like, how did the NBA find you, or you found them? How did this connect?
So, Chris has always been a huge supporter of Black-owned businesses and HBCUs. Right. So when the whole COVID thing happened, we had some press hits and some mentions, and the NBA bubble started. He actually was instrumental in getting us in the NBA bubble, and we didn't know how. Oh, wow. So it just happened, right? So it was this thing we were seeing that resort in Disney ordering the product, and everyone was like, "What? Who's doing this?" Well, it turns out that one of my advisors, he wasn't an advisor necessarily at that point, but we were starting that relationship, was also one of his advisors.
Oh, wow.
So we had introduced him to the product, and Chris just loved it and started supporting. So it was it might have been a year, even longer, before he came on as an equity partner and investor. It was just him supporting the brand, which I love. So it literally was just one of those things where he was introduced by a mutual friend, liked the product, got us in the bubble, was drinking it and was supporting. And then we finally came together and met, after after the bubble was over, and we just sat on the phone or Zoom and kind of just talked about common interests, love of wine, etc. before we even talked about, are we going to go be in business together?
Yeah, because I just my research, I know Chris Paul, Carmel, all those guys drink wine. He has his own drinking wine. Carmel has his own drinking thing, wine thing, and so it makes sense that the NBA guys are doing that and leading the way and whatnot. So then you have another partnership that just happened. What was that one? Constellation? Or not? The Constellation one. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Constellation, again, after the death of George Floyd, and companies were questioned about what they were really doing to do diversity and inclusion initiatives. They started a fund for minority founders in the wine and spirits industry, and we were the first recipient of that fund. So that was announced in May of last year. And what that really does is they provide resources, intel, insight on how to really build and scale a brand. So it's been a great partnership to date. And I expect to see even more in the future for sure.
Wow. Now, when's next time when next time you come back to Baltimore doing an event? Anything like that coming up? Or I have to ask, because people are going to say, wait a minute, you didn't ask, is he coming back?
I'm actually there quite a bit. I mean, listen, I'm there to either see, people who support us, like the Atlas Restaurant Group. Those brothers have been huge supporters. The Pendry, the other wine bar down at Fells Point and Off the Rock. So I come back, visit my mom, and then I jump around. Oh, and then I can't ever forget the guys at the Hotel Revival. Like, they were the first in the city. So
Jason Bass and Don.
Exactly. So I go back and forth. I'm usually I do a trip to DC, and then I'll drive over to Baltimore and spend some time. But we're working on some events now. So I'm talking to John and a couple of people in the city that do some great stuff to see what we can do in the fall and the winter, because I want to keep the rosé momentum going. So I'm trying to explain to people you can drink rosé in the winter. So you'll see a lot of activity from us this fall for sure.
I love to hear that. Do you have any new adventures going on besides the rosé right now?
So we just permanently launched a white wine called La Fête du Blanc, which is also produced in France at the same vineyard. And that last year was just like a thank you to our customers for supporting limited edition. But I mean, it just took off. So now we're rolling that out as a full-time sister brand to La Fête du Rosé. So that's exciting.
I like that you're just like, you know what? If it rolls, keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Because a little background, this podcast wasn't originally for Baltimore. It wasn't. Wow. It was all my college friends from Syracuse. We're going to tell stories. But when in Baltimore, it was like, we want more. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to keep it rolling. I'm just going to let it go. Had to let it go. But, what would you say to young entrepreneurs out there who want to get into the spirits and wine industry? And they're trying to figure it out. They have good business acumen. What would you say? I mean,
yeah, I think there's a couple of things. There's either you're going to go and work in the industry a little bit and really learn the inner workings, or you're going to bring someone on as an advisor or a partner that knows that, because this is like no other industry you've ever seen. The laws and the systems that are put in place are nuts. So it's not something you could just come out here and say, oh, I launched a brand and it's going to work. It's just not that industry. And unlike fashion and beauty and all those sort of brands, which you can do that. And I would just say, listen, never give up. Like, keep going. And people say that all the time, right? But it's not a blissful ignorance. Keep going. It's like, keep pushing with the knowledge and the skills and the team and the staff to keep going in the right way and learn from it. The other thing is, we have to, especially minorities, understand the financials of running the business. What does your balance sheet look like? How's your cash flow? How much are your cost of goods? And we need to understand that part of it, because it's not as simple as just starting a business and going.
Right. And you know, I've learned that doing the podcast. I've learned that. Right. You know what I mean? Again, I'm working and I got I'm like you. I got my IT, but I'm not doing IT. Got my 9 to 5, but I'm doing this hobby. And it's like more and more. The demands more and more. Like, what do you do? You know. So I love that. But here's a speed round for you. I got to bring home for you. Speed round. Brunch or dinner?
Oh, anything with some music and a party. So I say both.
Okay. Now this is gonna be. Let's see if you still got your Baltimore card here.
Okay.
Snowballs or ice cream?
Snowball.
Okay. All right. I had to make sure. Favorite R&B group?
Jodeci.
All right. Me too. Okay. All right. Favorite. Okay. Crab cakes or crabs?
As I've gotten older, it's crab cakes all day. Just
okay. You want cake?
Yeah, I can.
I get it. And what was your favorite Super Bowl halftime performance?
Oh man,
that's my curveball question.
Shit.
Some good ones.
Oh man, that's why I'm like, oh man, I don't want to say anything.
You can't go wrong. I'll take mine's is Prince, okay? Because Purple Rain, it rained while I was singing Purple Rain. So that's why
I give you that, but I'm gonna take Bruno Mars.
Okay, that was good. That was a really good show. That was really good. And what is the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh, wow, that's a good one. To don't stay too long. So, and I say that because we sometimes take jobs and careers, and we know or even relationships, when you know it's time to go, and you just stay. Someone told me once about a job, don't stay too long, and it's been like a life lesson for me in general.
I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can we find you? The social media, all the brands. Give us the websites, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So Instagram is at Lafette Rose. That's LAFETEROSE.com. The website is www.lafetterose.com. My Instagram is at Thurston Burston III, which is pretty hilarious. And then, of course, on our website, you can go into our store locator, put your zip code in, and it'll tell you all the stores in the area that are selling the product.
All right, folks. Again, thank you so much, folks. Again, I told you we have the heavy hitters. We have people. We got to celebrate people from Baltimore and beyond, and what they're doing. Amazing things out here. We got to celebrate. That's what it's about: celebrating and giving people the flowers while they're here, where we can talk with them. And I'm greatly appreciated. Hopefully, when you come back to Baltimore, we can hook up and sit down and chat and really And I want to drink wine rosé with you.
Yes, let's do a NoPixAfterDark podcast, Lafette happy hour somewhere.
That's done. I will talk when I stop recording, but that would be I know you get a good crowd for that for sure.
Yeah, we should do it. Let's make it happen.
All right, people. Love, peace. We're out.
Thank you guys.
All right, and bro.